Hey tubers and tubettes, we're back with my friend Vern. And Vern was going to be on the channel once he hit 1,000 subscribers. And the name of your channel is?
Hey Vern Philippines.
Hey Vern Philippines. And you're at how many subscribers?
792.
792. So we're still looking for that 1,000 subscriber magical marker. But we preempted all that, waiting until the 1,000 subscribers because Vern is leaving tomorrow to go to
Turkey. Istanbul,
Turkey. Why Istanbul, Turkey?
Well, because it seemed like the only logical choice at the time for a place that was open where I could stay for more than a month, more than 60 days. There they have a 90-day visa with no COVID test. As long as you're not showing any symptoms, you can get right into the country. And to me, that was attractive. And there is an option to stay another 90 days for a total of 180 days, but only within a 1-year period. So you can go there at one time, within 6 months, stay 90 days, and if you need to come back and use that as another visa, expat, place to exit, you can get another 90 days out of it later in the year if needed. So
the background to all this is that the reason that he's going is to Turkey is not because this unbelievable desire to go to the Middle East. It's because his visa has expired. He's had the 3-year mark on his visa. And for those of you that don't understand it, we're allowed to stay here for a total of 3 years.
Right.
And then we must leave the country.
Right.
And we have to leave the country for like 24 hours or something like that. So most guys, if they hit that point and they really just want to meet the requirements, they'll go someplace really cheap and really close. And Singapore seems to be like a really cheap flight, and it's really pretty close. So some guys will just book a flight, go to Singapore, hang out at the airport till it turns midnight, get on another plane, come back home, and they're good for another 3 years, and then we can just renew our visas. He has hit the critical point, and it's been all goofed up because of the COVID thing. He's not been able to leave the country. So again, he's got his back against the wall. And so, but the good news is that Turkey is open, and they're not requiring a bunch of tests and all this and that.
Right.
The visa situation there is really simple. And so he's going to be leaving Dumaguete, and where he's got a leg up is that he's financially set himself up good enough so that he can pull this off without really getting damaged. He will be dipping into his savings account for his emergency fund, and if this isn't an emergency, I don't know what is. But the big question for Vern is, when can I come back?
Right.
There's the quandary.
Right.
Okay. So just wanted to give you guys kind of an update on what Uncle Vern over here is doing. His channel, Hey Vern Philippines, is now going to be Hey Vern's Philippines Goes to Turkey.
Right.
And so I'm really going to be watching this whole thing with some fascination because I have another friend that's been stuck in America that was in Vietnam with me, my friend Gary. He is in Albania. And so now I've got 2 guys that I'm good friends with that are going to be, one's going to be in Turkey, that's you. Gary's going to be in Albania. And what we'll be able to do is kind of keep an eyeball on each of you guys. We're here at Tom Tom's with every other vlogger in town. And so what I think we're going to do is try to do some split screens with you guys.
Oh, that's a great idea.
And, on a live stream and kind of get some feedback. And then also it'll give him an opportunity to do some vlogging from there, from a place that he had absolutely no intention of going to ever, but was the only opportunity. Right. So I'm interested in hearing what was your feeling when you found out that like Turkey and was like really the only place you could go?
At the time, I didn't know about Albania, and I wanted to stay in Asia. That was my goal. So originally, this time of year, I had planned to exit. I planned to go home to the US. And so I booked a flight in January of this year, and the flight canceled. And so I rebooked it again through their rebooking process. And the connecting flight, once I got to the US to go see my mom in Ohio, the connecting flight was no good. So I thought, this is an omen, I gotta do something else. So I thought, well, I want to stay in Asia. That was my goal, to stay close to here, not to spend a lot of money and go jet setting around the world. So I decided that I would go to Bali. And Boots on the Ground said that they were going to open September 11th. So I thought, well, I'll book a flight. It was about $350 to book the flight. And so I thought, okay, I'll take a little bit of a risk. Well, it turned out that it didn't work out. And now for the first flight, I booked it through Travelocity, and they said, okay, we're going to credit you, but that could be up to 2 months.
Right.
So I still haven't seen that money.
Right.
And then the Bali flight, they said, well, we have to give you a voucher. So
Right.
I'm on the voucher at least through a known airline, Cebu Airlines, which is an advantage. But you know, that's the risk of traveling now. If you only have limited funds and you get a flight somewhere and you need to get out and that flight cancels, you know, you're kind of at a limited option. So my friend had said, hey, what about Turkey? And he said it a few times, and I thought, I don't know about Turkey. I've never been to anywhere in the Middle East, so it's kind of an unknown and kind of scary, just like coming here for the first time. It's a complete unknown. You're out of your comfort zone and what you know. And I thought, I don't know. But then I started watching a few videos on it, and the food looked incredible. The people seemed really friendly, and the history was off the hook.
Yeah.
And I thought, man, there's a reason my paths are going to this place. And I want to go now. Now I'm excited. So it's just a matter of getting out the door, so to speak, and going through the last set of hurdles to make that happen. And being in this whole COVID thing, it's almost like we're kind of, I don't know what you say, we're almost like we're zombies. We're not even our full selves anymore because we're stuck into this rut. And I feel like I can finally get out of this rut and live again. You know, when I talk to some people online doing a video, I felt like when I'm videoing them, that something was wrong, like something was missing. And you know what it was? I'm so conditioned now to wear this mask and hide my face that when I see somebody's face and they see my face, I'm like, oh my God, I'm naked, what's wrong here? And it took me a while to connect that up. And so we're going through a stress through this time that we're not aware of a lot of times, and it's affecting us.
Well, there's a common theme amongst all the guys that I've talked to out here in Dumaguete, and the common theme is, I just want to leave. In other words, cabin fever. I can only imagine what it's like maybe in America or other countries. And every day I wake up, I actually count my lucky stars that for me getting stranded someplace, I think this was the #1 place, at least for me.
Okay.
Simply because I have baby May. I had limited time to move around. There was a real strict quarantine for about 30 days.
Right.
But I don't have any kids that are trying to go to school. I don't have a wife that I'm 50-50 with where we're bickering, you know. So every day I just think, you know, how lucky I am. And we were able to cheat the system over here to some degree. In other words, checkpoints and stuff like that. We were able to wiggle around them. As soon as businesses started to open up, like right now we're at Tom Tom's Coffee, and we've been able to come in here willy-nilly, you know, without all this stuff. And it's getting a little bit more back to normal. So we were fortunate, I think, to be under COVID here in Dumaguete. Conversely, if you were in Cebu right now, which is just up the road, if you will, 6 hours, you were locked down and still locked down.
Right.
And again, I don't know what it's like for anybody else, anywhere else exactly, except for the immediate guys that I chat with. But what Vern's going to face on the way out, which I think will be interesting to watch, and hopefully he'll be able to vlog, is just the process of getting from Dumaguete to Manila.
Right.
And then once in Manila, what's the process from Manila to Turkey?
Right.
And what kind of hoops are we going to have to jump through? Because this is the 4th guy that I know that's left. A number of guys, like Vern, have had to leave. I mean, one guy's father passed away. He wanted to go home. Another guy, his business collapsed and he had to go home. Another guy, had to get home because he came here for vacation and got stranded for an extra 7 months and finally just got out. But he wrote me the other day and told me what a nightmare it was. No Brad Ullman on your trip of just when he got to Manila, how his hotel had been canceled and this had gone wrong and that had gone wrong, but he got home, you know. And so what we're wishing for here with my friend Vern is that he gets through all the hoops. He's got all the paperwork in order, all the ricky-dicky stuff. We were talking earlier about the first thing that he should do when he does get there is transfer some money, because that's always a sticking point. I use Zoom to move my money, and so does Vern. Turns out that Zoom doesn't work in Turkey. All right, so I didn't know that, but I said my little recommendation to Vern was go ahead and use your debit card when you first get there. Pull out $100, make sure that's working. He's called his bank to make sure that they're aware that, you know, you're going to Turkey and all this and that. But you know what? You always want to verify, trust but verify. And then you're going to need to find a way to transfer money from your account other than Zoom. Have you set something up for that?
Well, I tentatively started to set up TransferWise, but I'm still not sure how that's supposed to work. I believe that I could use Western Union.
I think Western Union's a pretty good shot. I think that they go just about everywhere, but I don't know that for a fact. And
you can use your debit card or your bank details to send money to yourself, which is an option. So the problem with the Philippines is once you're here, a lot of places don't have addresses. They've got no street name, no address. And so they want to set up this account. They want an address with an ID with that address and a bill with that address. Well, that's a mind blower because I've got a PO box instead of that. So I'm kind of, TransferWise might not work. But what I just learned last night is that if you're going to do that, set it up with the post office address and then put in their box whatever, but use their address and then get a postal ID with the post office address with your post office box. So that's my next step when I come back, especially for the AdSense when I eventually do monetize.
Well, you know, one of my regrets is that there were things that I weren't aware of when I moved out here that guys have got. And one of them is a dedicated phone number for America, which you kind of like pay a fee for, and a dedicated address service system. So there are systems out there where you can set up an address in America. It might be in Nebraska, it could be in Oklahoma, it could be in Alaska. It doesn't really matter. What they'll do is when you receive mail, they'll open it up and scan it to you or destroy it for you.
Oh, wow.
It's like $25 a month.
Wow.
That's important, I think, if you're waiting for any kind of tax documents or anything like that. They can scan those to you, you can do your taxes, and you're cool there. The phone number is important because if you have to verify anything when you get to Turkey. So in other words, you might try to use MoneyGram or TransferWise or whatever one of the services. They're going to want to send you a text. And so now you're going to need to have a phone number, and how are you going to get that? So these are the dynamics that these little knucklehead things that can cost you big time. You know? So I guess the best thing we can do at this point in time is stay tuned to Hey Vern Philippines.
There we go.
Make sure that we check him out on a day-to-day basis or week-to-week basis, however often he posts a video. And we'll just kind of keep track of his travels. And what have you learned from all of this? If you're going to give somebody here, you know, information about what's going on in your world, what would you want these guys to know about?
Well, here's the thing. Whenever you come to a foreign country, think of not having any backup. You are your own backup plans for everything. So you have to be set up. If, like when I'm going over to Turkey, the first thing I thought about is I'm going to need money. Without money, you don't have somebody to bail you out. You don't know an uncle or a cousin there. You're on your own. So you have to make sure that you have more than one access point, or have, like Paul said, have enough money right away, or don't use up that money before you see what your access to your money is like. Now, one thing that I noticed is I can still send money to myself through Zoom. So if worst came to worst, I could fly to a country that accepts Zoom. You know, I mean, just, or I could use my debit card. There's always something, but you have to have those plans in place before you get there. Not at the last moment when you're panicking and scared and you're worried about these things.
Right.
So if set up a couple different remittance companies, Zoom, Western Union, have different ways that you can send yourself money. And like I say, I always carry a money belt, so I always have money with me. But that's like the emergency. That's not until that comes to the point. Then we're going to try to get our money. It's, you know, so it's life is not scary if you have the plans in place and you know where you're going to go. It's not a problem.
Right.
But what happens is in these countries, you don't know what dynamics you're going to experience, and that's the scary unknowns. I didn't know what it was going to be like coming to the Philippines. I didn't know what it was going to be like sending myself money. But once I'm comfortable here, it's a no-brainer. It's no big deal.
Yeah.
And just to get to the next place and get that established, you know, then the relaxing comes. The thing that I noticed with electronic funds transferring is you can usually transfer money to get a ticket somewhere without too many issues. So if you need to travel to another place to get access to something, but the PIN thing, that's a real scary thing, because I have a dual SIM card phone now, which is, I think, a number one asset if you're going to travel. One SIM card is for the country that you're going to, and the other SIM card is from the country that you're staying in.
From or staying.
Or, yeah, wherever you expect that text from, that needs to be a dedicated SIM card, and you need to have it activated to be on a roaming. And there's a fee for that now.
Yep.
And it was 400 some pesos a day.
Well, there's also things like I've been hearing Google Voice, but that requires an internet connection.
Okay.
So that's the thing that scares me in the Philippines of relying on something like that, is if I can't get on the internet, I can't get on Google Voice and blah, 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 blah. But I think the smartest thing to do is, if I was coming out here, I would have a dedicated SIM card with a dedicated number that is on file with Zoom or with whatever transfer company that you're going to use, number one. And number two, make sure that you take plenty of cash with you, in pocket, in hand, $100 bills, not 50s, not 20s, and so that you've got that. And then, again, your feet are not going to be set in cement when you land in Turkey. You might get there and you might dig it, you might not. So I think there are some options for you as far as if you want to get out of that country and into another one.
Right.
But I'm really curious, you know, here's the deal, guys. It's like he had his 3 years, the COVID thing came along, and it's a nightmare trying to get out of the country. Vern does not know when he can come back to the country until the Philippines opens up.
Right.
So for all you guys sitting at home whining that you can't get over here, put yourself in old Vern's shoes.
Right.
He's got all of his stuff here.
And I'm paying for it.
He's paying for it. He's paid up, I think, 3 or 4 months worth of rent. He's got people watching his car and his motorbike and all that kind of stuff. And so I'm going to be watching with interest, and I'm also going to make sure he's on a couple of live streams with me.
There you go.
We'll keep the update coming. So, you know what? You guys have great advice. I don't give advice, but you guys do, because you know more than me. So if you have any suggestions for Vern as to how to handle the money or the transition or anything about Turkey, we'd love to hear about it.
Sure.
So thanks for tuning in. We will catch up with you guys next time, and I hope everybody's doing good.
Thanks, Paul.
Say good night, Vern.
Good night, Vern.